right time, right place, or lucky. And I wanted to think all these things about this person. But in reality, this guy wasn't really necessarily book smart, but he was financially smart. He understood the principles as to why people become successful, and he was able to emulate that success, and that allowed him to be at a point where he had a Lamborghini Aventador. He was able to, he was traveling the world, and he was just making tons of money and just flexing it all over the internet. And it baffled me. I had to really set my ego aside. I had to realize, I was like, this is possible. There is a way, there is a science to this, there is a math, there is a formula to becoming rich and to becoming wealthy, and I just didn't have the formula. Plain and simple. I wanted to throw all these labels on this person, but I had to take a second. There was an inkling in me that was able to, which I'm so blessed that I was able to do this, to realize that even though, yes, Devin, you may be able to program websites and you may be able to be good at pitching a baseball in baseball, and was able to understand some of these really deep concepts, and I was really really able to wrap my head around code and all these kind of advanced complex things. But even though I understood all these things, I was only making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. It really wasn't that much money. Versus this guy didn't understand any of that stuff. All he knew was the language of money and how to become rich. And so what I realized is I needed to do the exact same thing that this guy did. Even though he was not smart, he understood money. So I went from there, studying all this guy's work and all this guy's content and breaking down, and I derived this formula. And what it was understanding what got people's attention and what made people consume information and content. And that's what this guy ended up doing. And then he got to the point where, with all his attention and all of these stories that he was able to tell of just his personal own experience, he was able to make millions of dollars. And so what did I do? Essentially, I did the same exact thing. I learned I reverse engineered how you made a ton of money, which was captivating a ton of eyeballs on the internet, and just essentially putting something in front of that audience and making a ton of money with it. So here's the thing. You need to emulate people that are successful. As soon as I started applying exactly what this guy did in his videos, money started to become, I started becoming like a magnet of money. Like, people started just wanting to pay me lots of money for my information and for the things that I had, even if I didn't really have that much information. I soon was able to figure out what exactly people want and how I could fulfill it. But essentially, people were throwing money at me because I understood this dumbing down process of just creating things that people wanted and putting it out in front of them. And so what you need to do is, we grow up in a place where we go to school and we get taught by these teachers in school. But if you think about it, if you you're learning from these people in school that are getting paid, barely any money. Let's say it's $60,000, $80,000 a year, if that. That's not really that much money. And if you're trying to learn from these people, if we're learning from these people for 12 years, we're only going to be necessarily as good as these people, maybe a little bit better. Going to school, if you're watching this, if you're making $100,000 a year, probably most of you guys would be like, wow, this is amazing. Or even, let's say $200,000 a year, or let's say $300,000 a year. Even people that are maybe making $500,000 a year, that's not money. That's middle class. That's not really that much money. I'm talking about wealth. I'm talking about where you can just go and spend as much money as you could possibly think of and still have a lot of money left over. This guy was making $200,000, $300,000 a month with Google slide decks and a camera and a microphone and a computer. That's it. This guy didn't go to some 8-year degree of getting a college, becoming a doctor and going to some medical field or anything like that. This guy was making doctor's salaries in a month. And he didn't even know that Vermont was a state.